RN conference with Kristen. Say good morning, and then we'll do the introductions after you've had a chance to chat.
Okay, so is everybody online? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
I'm Kristen Eshleman. I'm one of the co-chairs for the dLearn conference. I am also here with my colleague, or former colleague, Allison Salisbury, who's now with EdSurge, and we thought we would just talk to you guys, any questions you might have about institutional change. So one of the things we're interested in right now, both of us, is the ways in which digital learning is impacting organizational change for higher education. And I'm currently working on R&D, developing an R&D model at Davidson College that will begin to sort of push against our value proposition in the way we deliver education by testing alternative models and then researching that to understand how we might begin to change that over time and have the decision making work more from the bottom up. And so this is that's the model I'm working on. Allison, you want to talk about your interests? Institutional change?
My interests are somewhat similar. They started with the work I was doing with Kristen to develop this R&D model, and then since leaving the institution, working with a number of other institutions that are asking these same questions. How do we not just change once? How do we not just sort of scattershot adopt new practices, new models, new technologies, but really institutionalize a mechanism to co-create new solutions internally, to align those to a broader strategy, to be a little bit more agile in how we adapt to change. So I'm interested generally in how institutions are approaching that question, if they even think that's a valid question to be asking, and what that might look like internally to structure ourselves in that way.
Yeah, so even as recent as last night, we had the pre-conference workshop, and in that we were talking about all 5 of the strands related to this conference. And the one that I was running, and I think this happened on multiple strand conversations, the conversations would start at the sort of course level. I was doing individualized learning, so what is it that we want to focus on with individualized learning? And we started talking about student agency as the key ingredient for individualized learning. And as we started working through it, it kept working its way up the chain. So students can't really have agency until faculty have agency. Faculty can't have agency until we can look at accountability standards and accreditation for the institution, and that agency just rolls all the way up. And so I think for a lot of us, as we're thinking about digital learning and how we're going to push this forward on our campuses, we really have to be focused on that question of institutional change for it to happen in the right ways. So should we open it up to just conversation, questions?
Yeah. Do we want to do quick introductions for people that are online?
Sure. So I'm Mahabali from Cairo, Egypt. You guys know that. Yin, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Yin, and
she might be frozen.
I was a bit frozen, but okay, I'll try. I was in USA for a long time, but I was in CU, Virginia Commonwealth University, working with Google, Gartner, and so on. But I just relocated back home to Singapore to be closer to my family. Singapore, sunny Singapore, so it's pretty hot here. And it's 11 o'clock, so crazy me.
I'm GZ. I'm located in Oregon, in the middle of farmland.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
What?
Georgia. No, in Oregon. Oregon? Oh, is it raining in Oregon too?
Oregon. Yep. Oregon.
And I'm Helen DeWard. I'm in central Ontario, and the weather question, yes, it will snow tonight.
Oh, gosh. Well, the Canadians brought rain to California, so that's a good thing.
That's the rumor anyway.
Mia?
I'm Mia Zamora. I'm at Kane University, which is in New Jersey. I'm Associate Professor of English at Kane.
Great. We haven't seen Kelsey yet.
I'm Kelsey Catherine Schmidt. I'm a postdoctoral fellow at the L'Université Québec, as well as just about to defend a PhD at the University of Ottawa. So I am too expecting snow tonight. Boo.
Kelsey's in my cohort for my PhD program. Cool.
Oh, I forgot to say that I was a learning designer. I do learning design at VCU. So I'm back here in Singapore looking for either a faculty position or some learning design consultation job. Yeah.
We're not gonna be on for that much longer, but I think for the future ones, we have that room as well, and we can close the door because it's gonna get too loud in here.
Sorry, we're having logistical conversations here.
It happens. Did we catch everybody, or did we miss someone?
Dave.
On the
You
end.
guys know this is very much like, hey, talk to these people.
Is it volume? You have to unmute your mic.
Yeah, Dave.
Dave, we can't hear you.
Yes. Actually, it's kind of strange. I'm getting a delayed signal on top of the other ones. I'm getting.
I hate that. Where are you at?
I'm in Albany, New York. I can't really. I'm kind of hard following everyone because I'm getting two different signals. I'm getting one that's like 3 or 4 seconds delayed behind the other one. Yes.
You might have a second window open.
Oh.
That's causing.
Yeah, you might have to be doing 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Kristen, whenever you have to go, you can go. We don't wanna keep you, but I was just interested in how far. And everybody else, please, because I'm getting feedback. I think that's David and Yin and Mia. Could you please mute?
Right there.
Yeah,
Right there.
the one with the door open.
Right there. Yeah. I'll take care of that. Okay.
All right, we're gonna move.
We're gonna move.
So,
to
yeah, sure, okay. David, could you please mute yourself?
You guys get to see a little bit of the conference, so I'll try to make it so that no other people are brought in. So you can see there's like a beautiful window here. We're gonna go down the stairs. It's like the real conference experience.
It's Reconnecting 360.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful site.
Oh, the big screen. This would be cool if you could put the people on VC Connecting, the virtual people on the big screen, and then everyone else in the room can see us better.
All right, so Patrice is the new guest speaker.
Where's Allison?
Right
here. I'm here.
All right, sorry for that change. I'm curious, are folks going to, I'm just curious about this, are folks going to be using Periscope or following the Periscope for the conference?
I'll probably follow a little bit.
I'm hoping to follow a few.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how well that works.
So only the keynotes are being live streamed, right?
Yeah, that was a late change, I think.
We need a funky password.
So I'm curious, does anyone have any questions for us or things you're interested in talking about, interested in hearing about at the conference?
I think one big one for me is, how do you start? Like, where have you started with this whole, administrative agency?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think it's somewhat accidental. With us at Davidson, it happened as part of the MOOC experiment. So when we decided to do edX, to join the edX consortium, that really gave us a lot of freedom to...
Sorry, just want to get a picture.
Okay. That gave us a lot of freedom to build classes in ways that we hadn't done before. And having that process of having a budget that existed outside of the regular budget cycles, and we had complete control over the decision making and how that rolled out, made us think about different structures we could put in place to allow us to do similar types of experimentation, but not just in the MOOC sphere. So that's really how it kicked off for us. It just gave us a prototype for doing R&D, and then we developed that out a little further, talked to interested faculty who were wanting to do something similar, but we needed a way to bring this into 4-credit courses. And so we ended up with a team of people, myself, our Center for Interdisciplinary Studies, which is where students can design their own major. So that's our kind of loophole in the curriculum for getting courses approved without going through the regular process. Our digital studies professor or director of digital studies program, he is interested in the ways digital learning can be part of the digital studies program broadly. So he's part of it. And then our entrepreneur and innovation director who is interested in looking at experiential learning and ways we can bring high-impact practices into the classroom. So the 4 of us are actually a team with R&D. It's not just me, and I think that's going to work really well for us. It's not going to be additive for faculty. It won't be additive for students, and we'll be able to make changes on the fly as quickly as we want to. So that's how we got started. It was the MOOC, and then we took that as a here's a successful project. How can we flesh that out a little further and do more experimentation?
Thank you very much. Very informative.
Sure.
I'm really interested in.
We don't want to keep you. Kristen, we don't want to keep you if you have to go. Just whenever you have to go, just go ahead.
Yep. I got about 5 minutes. I'm watching it. Mia, you had a question?
I wanted to ask. Yeah, I'm just really excited about the notion of institutional change that matters, and that it seems to be born of the pedagogical space. That in many ways it's rethinking the possibilities around teaching that spurns that greater leap to institutional change that matters. So I hoped you might just sort of speak about that in terms of what kinds of innovation in the classroom has led to thoughts about how policy and institutional change, how there's a connection between those two things.
Well, so the obvious,
how that's been experienced.
Yeah, the obvious first answer for me is it's a governance issue on our campus. So if we're going to change at all, it's got to start with the faculty. And I think the R&D gives faculty more of a voice in decision making. I think when things come down from on high, like we're going to do online learning or we're going to do blended initiatives or whatever it is, it tends to be met with resistance. And so what we want is we don't want a space where we're coming with the idea and saying, all right, we all need to do blended pedagogy now, and everybody, here's your workshop and come take the class, and it just doesn't work very well. So the approach we'd rather take is, what is your burning question that you're interested in? And it may be very simple. So a simple one might be, I've got a class of 30 students and I really want it to feel like 10. I don't know how to get there. We don't want you to even know the answer to that. We're not asking you to know what blended learning is or anything. We just want to know what you want to play with, like what you want to study, what you want to do, and then come in and work with us to design some sort of solution. So I see it more as empowering. You empower the practitioner to decide what kinds of pedagogical questions they want to ask, the ways they want to push, and then you help design the solution to fit that question. I think that's the only way it's going to work for us, because the governance has to start with the faculty. I mean, Allison, do you have opinions?
I would add that I would say everything and for students. I think that we've seen a lot of change happen at Davidson in result of students organizing in such a way that they can have a voice around what kind of education they want for themselves, and to work closely with faculty and with staff and also with people in the community to articulate a vision for an education that feels sort of empowering and relevant to them. And so we have groups of students that Kristen is working with that are sort of rethinking what scholarship could look like in an undergraduate education, what alternative scholarship could look like. And then when you get those student voices in conversation with faculty, brilliant things happen. But I think in many cases, students don't think that they have a right to speak, that they're there to consume something that's been perfectly architected for them. And so I do think there's work on behalf of people thinking about institutional change around how you catalyze that conversation with a core group of students so that they can feel empowered to actually speak about institutional work.
Yeah, and on Allison's point, the students often feel like they don't really have a space to do that. They don't feel comfortable pushing against the faculty, pushing against the institution. And so that's part of the reason why the R&D is important to us. We need for them to see that we're modeling that same kind of critical pedagogy. And then they'll feel more empowered to have a voice. We give them a platform.
The question that comes to me is the thing that you said about core group of students. And so I was thinking, in terms of faculty and students, I'm expecting that there are certain people who would engage with you on this and others who wouldn't. And where does their voice end up being? Because, of course, there will be some people are more willing to do it, but they're not representative of everyone, obviously. And again, for the students, there will be a certain students who will come up and sort of understand that yes, they can have a voice. So I'm wondering how you chose the people, or did they come up to you, or?
Yeah, they tend to find me. I don't know how I've gotten this reputation on campus. Some of it's Allison sends them over. She sees them through. She was seeing them through summer programs that she ran. In other cases, I think it's just word of mouth. We're a small campus. We only have 2,000 students, so the word gets around. Hey, you want to do something different? You should talk to this person or this person, and then they find each other. So I think that's kind of how it's happened. It also happens in the co-curricular spaces. So students really, I think that's where they're doing interesting informal learning and beginning to question why that informal learning is not something they receive credit for, and when they're spending an inordinate amount of time on it and finding it very transformational. So I think they find each other in those informal settings, and then they just find the handful or more of staff or faculty who are willing to push on their behalf.
So at one point you mentioned that your courses, or I have the impression your courses don't have to go through the standard curriculum. Did I misunderstand? We're free to innovate. Does that mean you don't have to go through like the committee process in order to design and come up with new courses that are taking place on your campus? Or because where I'm at, if you want to design new courses, it has to go through all these different either undergraduate or graduate committees, division committees, etc., before you can actually teach. So have you circumvented that? Or
yes. It's kind of strange. We haven't. So the Center for Interdisciplinary Studies there's a space there where students can bring an independent study that they're interested in and have a faculty member be part of that, and faculty members get credit for teaching that. But there are spaces in the Center for Interdisciplinary Studies for courses that are experimental. We also have seen since, I think in the last year, the English department, some of the departments are beginning to rethink allowing that in their spaces, especially ones with declining majors and declining enrollments. So the English department last year instituted an experimental course track, which is completely wide open for English professors to pitch whatever kind of course they want. And the department has to discuss it, but it's not as restrictive as they've been in the past, and it's not meant to hit any particular requirement that they have of the major. It really is wide open. So yes, we do have that. It's kind of accidental, to be honest. It started around this designing your own major program, and it's not used very widely, but it is a loophole, and we just decided to say, okay, we've got this loophole here. We're going to plug it into that space. I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I better go. Actually, I'm gonna have to go because I have to introduce the conference and also get ready for the keynote. So I'm gonna head out, but it's great to meet you guys. And Allison,
thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, that's great, and we're really glad you guys can be part of the conference through this virtual buddy thing. It's fantastic. And I'll let you talk to her. She's a great person.
It's 8:30, yeah. So we're gonna have to go in 5 minutes as well because we have to be part of the. Yeah, we don't want to miss the opening scenes.
Enjoy the conference.
Maybe in the last 5 minutes, I'm curious, from your perspectives, what are your biggest questions around institutional change? What are the biggest opportunities you see? What are the biggest questions that you are facing?
Anyone can jump in here.
I was really taken by Kristen's mention of the inquiry being born of the practitioner, whether it be a student or a group of students who are looking for something, or a faculty member who wants to get around something in an entirely different way. What I experience is that oftentimes my colleagues feel that opening up the classroom beyond the four walls is sort of a prescription that comes down from the administration, so that kind of from the ranks up paradigm that you're nurturing within this institutional context, I think, is the key to making a transformation on an institutional level that leads towards policies and practices that will make a difference and offer transformative education for our students. So it's that. So I guess answering your question, Allison, I think really the issue is that flip. Instead of it being a top-down prescription, you need to get these tools under your belt to teach like this. That's not working, from my perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing a tension between allowing space for experimentation, at the same time another push from another direction, right? That's all about accountability, and it's all about kind of, how do we measure and how do we keep everything kind of locked down, and we know exactly what these things are. And I feel like we need a voice we need space for experimentation, we need ambiguity, we need things that are a little less defined. And hi, Greg, I see you in the in the chat there. But we should probably run too, because it's 8:27 and things kick off at 8:30. But thank you. Yeah, thank you all.
Have a great conference, guys.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And I will stop the broadcast in just a few minutes, but hang in and we can just have a little chat after the broadcast is finished. Thanks for joining in this morning.